Yes, yes. Hello, everybody. This is the match preparation video for our trip to Coomera on Wednesday night. It'll be the 6th of May. There's a couple of things that we really wanted to highlight. You will notice I haven't changed this very much from the Excelsior game. I think the Excelsior game highlights areas which we can improve to have the most powerful impact on the game. And particularly the contrast between first half, where we started really strongly, dominated them for 20 minutes, allowed them back into it in this final 20 minutes of the half. We then rallied at half time. And look, honestly, they did get a couple of chances where they broke away. And quite frankly, one of them, there was some very impressive goal line defense that kept them from scoring. But for the most part, I think it highlighted our biggest threats in terms of conceding goals. And it also highlighted our pathway to scoring goals. Our pathway to scoring goals is sustained pressure in the attacking third, and our biggest threat in terms of defence is them breaking generally in transitional moments with long passing. Most of the teams we play have a large, fast striker or wingers. That's not how we're structured. So we need to manage those individuals because, in my opinion, the gap, we conceded two goals in that fashion. Bombing it up to large strikers. We mismanaged the possession deep. And when we played Excelsior last time, it was a long transitional ball that sealed the game for them. We shut that out in this fixture, and as a result, came away with the win. So let's build on that. So, key points once again: managing transitional moments, both in attack and in defence. So when we win the ball on a transitional moment, we first of all secure the possession with a touch into space or driving forward into space, but we secure the possession. We then give ourselves, I don't know, about 3 to 5 seconds to try to find a pass and then an attacking option on goals. We don't force that pass. If it's a really poor quality chance, we don't take it. We recycle the ball, we build up again, and we keep moving them around. In terms of those, there's actually a couple of moments on that where if we go to 57-21, so it's a little bit before this. This was the second half against Excelsior where we just had them anchored in their own half. The only time they got out of their half was when they basically managed to get a long ball ambitiously up forward. So when we retained possession in their attacking third, we did a lot of it in the first 15 minutes of the game. Unfortunately, where they scored, which I thought their goal in the first half was very much against the run of play, and well, look, it was a well taken header. There's just no two ways about it. It was a really well taken header. So I'll pause here, go to full screen. Okay, so boom, he lets that run through. And I'm guessing I must need to go back further from that then. Sometimes I just don't get these moments right. Okay, so here we are. So he boots it up long, we win it, and we get some sustained pressure. So I'd prefer to see you taking a touch here, Max, because even though the ball goes where you want it, it's a bobbly, shitty ball that means that Riley's under pressure. So Riley gets under the ball, so we retain it. So retaining the ball, now here Mayo gets the ball, gets a shove, dribbles through, finds Riley. Now Danny's about to make a diagonal run. I highlighted this in the match review. If Danny gets a foot on that, we score. So these are just examples of retaining the ball. This ties into a transitional moment, but the reality is, the more time you keep them mired in their defensive third with a good press, keeping them anchored in there, the more transitional moments we get when we win the ball. We just need to make the most of those. So that's a good example of where we've retained the possession and then we've moved the ball and we've created a better opportunity. If we can go up to 87-50, this was another example where we did a really good job of managing one of these situations. So this was some real. I really enjoyed the interchange of passing. So we've got the ball here. Zaki settles on the ball. Now there's not really a lot doing. They're set. Okay, you can see they've got their centre backs in position where they want their centre backs. I'll get that out of the way. So they have their centre back. So the right back's coming in to engage. This guy, well, he's a bit flat-footed and disinterested. Their defensive midfielders are in position. In fact, this is their right back. So they've got everybody in position there. Um, their line, though, if we go to their line, so this is their defensive line, like that, and that's their centre backs. So we've recognised the space, we've recognised who we have in attacking opportunities, because this is really, if we win this, which Zach has, now what Zach hasn't do is he hasn't just tried to hump it up to literally anybody who's paying attention. Um, he's going to find the pass into here. And then we've got a whole bunch of options. We can play here to Luke's feet. We can play Luke to space. We can play to the space of this runner. We've got a whole lot of options. But if we see how it unfolds, first ball, Benji, Mayal on the ball. Now, Benji's in space here. He's got options. He can cut the ball in. He can drive into the box. And he's got runners coming through. Now, I think it's very easy to do, armchair analysis and have a look at these situations. But realistically, his options are you're on the ball, dribble into here, okay? Probably you're not really going to be able to pair through two players or pass. This here's probably a really good option, although it'd probably look a little bit more like that, just sort of dribbling it through for the runner to come through. In any case, as we roll it through, had the right idea, just the execution probably wasn't as good as it could be. But in the end, that's a little irrelevant. The more time we spend in those attacking transitions and the better decisions we make there, the better things will turn out for us. Now, so we'll move over to here. So managing transitional moments. One thing I definitely did want to highlight in this instance was 59:36. It was actually what I was going to open up with, but I decided to head in a slightly different direction. Went a little rogue. Okay, so what's going to happen? We're set up. Zach's marking here. Major out of shot is covering the middle of the pitch. We've got, who is that? I suspect that is Griggsy dropping into cover. Griggsy does an excellent job of that. And we're all lined up across here. This is late in the half. So the ball's going to go up. We would endeavour to win that. We're in possession, but we don't. Bang, ball's not controlled, and he lumps it up. Now, this is the kind of stuff I'm talking about. It's not particularly good football. All he's done is just lumped it up to the big guy. And there's a lot of teams that we play but do that. But because it's a transitional moment, and why is it a transitional moment? Because this guy who he would be being marked by the thrower. So Luke would normally be marking him, but as it turns out, he's unable to mark him. And the ball has just been humped up to here. Anyway, it's going somewhere up around there, which effectively potentially gives them a 2v2 because we've got players out of position. Normally, Luke would be stuck right about here, making sure this guy can do nothing particularly interesting. So the ball goes up. Zach doesn't get the header he wants. He's either trying to find a forward header or trying to find a header out of bounds. Doesn't get it. This guy runs onto the ball. And this guy, I think, what was it, 16? I think he's got some reasonable toe. So in these moments, we can panic. We can see we've got cover coming back. Griggsy's coming back. Luke's coming back. Major is the main defender. So what Zachy has to do is keep between the striker and goal. And what Major has to do is just slow things down because reinforcements are coming. So this guy's still trying to get the ball under control. Major hasn't. He's engaged to get. So remember, first things first, you got to engage the ball at a safe distance. Secondly, you want to get between the player and the goal. So we've accomplished both of those things, and then we wait for an opportunity. Might be a heavy touch, might be a long touch where you have access to the ball. That's a bad touch, and we win it. So that then means if we have a look, it doesn't take much. You don't need to buy too much time because now All of a sudden, we've switched it around. The odds are very much in your favor now. That guy's still there. The striker's there. This left, there's the red-headed left winger is there, but we have a 5v4 and more players coming back. So in those transitional moments, don't panic. Get yourself in between the player and the goal. Be in a position where you can defend if necessary. If we can do that better, things are going to go a lot better for us in games. The last bit of footage I wanted to cover was just something I noticed that we're doing on the flanks a little bit. It happened quite a bit. Um, yeah, it happened quite a bit. So I thought I'd highlight it. What we are in at times doing is we're just sort of over committing to the press on the flank and giving them an outlet. So where you've got, okay, so here we go. So he's going to throw as long as he can, which is fair enough. I'm just going to pause that, make it bigger. Okay, so he's lumped it through. He goes there. Okay, so now, oh, don't tell me you're doing that to me. Why are you doing that now? All right. So yeah, look, I'm not going to be able to show you this because for some reason or another it's done that. But in these situations, what we're looking for is where the winger commits, and then there is the opposition have a free man on the inside. Now, what you have to do if you're the midfielder coming in to defend that, you obviously want to close in to double team the player on the ball and pressure the ball, but you've got to make sure that you're also going to be able to cut out the passing lane to the midfielder who's free on the inside. It's not that dissimilar to cutting off the centre back from passing back to the goalkeeper. All right. Um, yeah, that is a bit disappointing because it's going to mean that we're not going to be able to do any more video footage. We don't really need to. In summary, though, to recap, managing defensive and attacking transitional moments because that is where we can score goals. And in a defensive transitioning moment, that is where I think that we concede goals, especially against long balls, okay, where they just lump it up to the big kid. I've not seen Coomera, but they have had a change in form. And last year they had a couple of big lumps of lads. So my suspicion is that they're going to be a similar team in that respect. I could be wrong, but we'll wait and see. They certainly appear to be a lot stronger than they were last year. So we're going to have to treat them with respect. In possession, find spaces between the lines. Take the time to build up. We are, as I get to the team sheet, we are going to have Hayden on the right-hand side. Now, I stayed back and watched Hayden play for the play with the 18s on the weekend, and what I can confirm is that he's much more effective on the right-hand side than the left-hand side. So, we've already covered out of possession and managing that transition in particular in a defensive moment. It is going to be important also that the defensive midfielder continues to screen the back four because if you can cut those long balls out, just as we did in the second half against Excelsior, it's going to really remove a lot of their attacking options. So we're going to go to the match day squad. So Will is away, taking his bye, if you like, for selection purposes. Nathan's still injured. Isaac's still injured. That means that we have Zach and Major and unchanged. Well, I suppose it's not an unchanged because we've got Luke Williams on the left at left back. We've got Zach at left centre back. We've got Major at right centre back. Bringing Zach Millichet in, performance easily supports Zach being placed at right back. But it also means that we have Francis Fresh on the bench who can come in at right back. He can come in anywhere in the midfield and have a strong impact. Ollie defensive midfield. Honestly, just the amount of don't argue crunching tackles that are really important because you have to be hard at the ball when you're playing Excelsior because they go hard at the ball. And if you've got two people trying to win the ball, ultimately the one that wants it the most is usually going to come out the best in a 50-50. Um, so with Ollie's somewhat disregard for opposition, feet, ankles, knees, that's a good combination for winning the balls at defensive mid, which is exactly what you want. Max filling in the middle, another opportunity to run the game from the start. Riley at number 8, Hayden at right wing, Mael on the left, and Danny leading the line. Something that's going to be really important that I want to highlight here is Hayden. You can get wide, you can get space, you can cross the ball and generate good crosses. So Riley, Danny, and even Max pouring through. You guys are some of the stronger headers of the ball that we have in this team. So if you can come through and get on the end of those, they could represent really quality scoring opportunities for us. In terms of the bench, Francis, as I mentioned, um, can come in to fill in at right back depending on fatigue, depending on match state, and the middle of the pitch. The middle of the pitch is critical for us, so we need to keep working the rotation that we've had in the middle of the pitch, which has been really effective. Probably rounds out to our midfielders having about 60 minutes on the pitch. That's the idea. Hayden's already starting. I've forgotten someone there. Gosh. Um, Actually, I don't think I have. I've just ended up just putting Hayden in there twice. Benji and Luke Payne. I'm actually looking at it, looking at the match date and the MCE footage. I think that there's obviously been in the habit of coming in to replace Danny at striker. That may well be what we do. Could be that Benji goes in at number 10. It'll depend on match date, depend on how things are going. And Luke Payne, looking at look your versatility is a tremendous asset. So whether you're going in at 10 to feed the striker with a left foot, give us a little bit more of a passing and interchange position there, or whether you end up finding your way to left back so that we can unleash Luke Williams a little further up the field later in the game, we'll wait and see. Either way, I'm sure he'll play an important part in this fixture. So that's the lineup, boys. That's the plan. This is an important game for us. We need to consolidate the win over Excelsior because if we can consolidate the win over Excelsior, we can put points between us and Coomera, and we can also put points between us and Excelsior. 6 points at least, I think, maybe even more. Anyway, the point is we can just really start to gap them, which is appropriate because I believe we're a considerably better team. We can also reinstate our charge on the top four because we have Ipswich on Sunday and they currently sit in the top four, which, based on the time we played them previously, I think that should be us. Rest up, boys. Enjoy the trip down to Coomera, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow to put another W, another one in the W column. Cheers.